Natalie Rigby, and I am here today to share with you what I consider to be my recipe for success. I have been a wellness advocate with doTERRA for 9 years and have learned a lot along my journey. And what I have come up with my secret formula to success has been passion plus persistence equals payday. This has become my personal power of 3. So let me start by sharing with you what I mean by passion. Do you remember the first time that somebody introduced doTERRA to you? Do you remember how you felt? Do you remember that feeling of hope? For me, I remember like it was just yesterday. I remember feeling that hope. It's something that I hadn't felt in a very long time. When I was introduced to doTERRA, it was a time in my life when I had a daughter who was in desperate need of digestive support, and we were also really struggling financially in a place of despair. And when I was introduced to doTERRA, it gave me hope for the first time in a long time. And I became extremely passionate about sharing this hope with others and sharing what I was passionate about, sharing the products that I had come to love and become so passionate about. And this was done heart to heart and face to face for me. And somewhere along the line in my journey, I became tired and worn out, and I felt stuck in the business. And I remember it was actually Emily Wright who sent me a text one day and told me to remember why I started. The text just simply said, "Natalie, remember why you started." And that suddenly brought me back to remembering why I began this journey and what it was that was pushing me forward and making me feel like it was somewhat of a moral obligation to share these amazing products. And that is what passion is about. It's remembering why you started this journey, because you are going to come to a point in this business where you're tired and you want to quit. But if you'll remember to get out of your head and back into your heart and to remember what you're passionate about, it's going to move you forward in a fast way. Never forget your mission and your purpose with these amazing products. So the second piece to this equation is persistence. In order to be successful in this business, you need to keep moving forward. You need to be persistent at the action steps that are going to keep your business moving forward. There are 3 main action steps, in my opinion, for succeeding in this business, and they are found in the PIPES duplication model that's found right in this Empowered Success training, and it is inviting, presenting, and enrolling. If you can master these 3 action steps, you will continually be able to move your business forward at a rapid pace and be able to succeed beyond your wildest imagination. The thing that gets in our way is usually us and will allow our limiting beliefs to stop us dead in our tracks. And it's important for you to learn that most people who succeed are doing things scared. So get out of your own way and learn to do things scared. Keep moving your business forward. Keep inviting, keep presenting, and keep enrolling, and it will bring about the most incredible paydays you've ever experienced. And that leads me to the last part of this equation, and that is paydays. A payday to me is not about a paycheck. A payday to me is about the unexpected blessings that come from living a life of purpose and meaning. A payday is realizing that you were a part of someone feeling better. It's realizing that you were a part of them feeling hope for the first time in a long time. A payday is being able to take blessings and pay them forward. It's about giving tips to those tired waitresses who are stressed out, and you can see it on their faces. It's about flying a friend across the country to see a family member who is taking their last breath. It's about paying for dental implants for a mother who struggled with uncomfortable dentures for years and years and being able to finally give her back her smile. And it's about our most recent payday of bringing a young man from the Dominican Republic over to the United States and helping him gain the education he needs to pursue his dream of becoming a doctor. It's realizing that you're being able to give somebody something they can never pay you back for. That's a payday. That's what this is about. And if you'll just stick to being passionate and sharing from your heart, being persistent and fighting through those bad days, you're going to experience these same types of paydays. And that's what makes this worth doing. That's what makes those hard days worth pushing through. And that's where you're going to find true joy and fulfillment in this business.
I'm Marcy Snodgrass, doTERRA Wellness Advocate, and today we're talking about reinvesting in your business. I feel like there's three pieces to this equation. The first one is investing financially in your business. To be eligible to earn all commissions from doTERRA, you do need to place a 100 PV or point value order, and that's on the Loyalty Rewards Program. We call that an LRP order. You can place that monthly. And then it really is that investment in your business, because you know what? An oil sharer, the best one is an oil user. So get the oils, experience the oils, and then it's easy to share the oils. So that's your monthly investment. Now, I like to do 125 PV because then if you do it by the 15th, you receive that product of the month. And so that's always a nice bonus to get that free product of the month. The second piece is having the supplies that you need to run classes. And you know what? doTERRA has made this really easy for us with Class in a Box. It has everything that you need to successfully run a business, and then you can reorder the supplies that you need. The second piece to investing in your business is investing in yourself. This is a personal development business. It is so important to have that personal growth. And the more personal development that you have, you will see your business grow by leaps and bounds. You might say, Marcy, listen, I just started this business. How can I invest in personal development? There are so many free resources for you. You can go to the library and get books. That's the first one. You can go to listen to podcasts. There's so much online free content from great coaches that can get you started. Then as you grow in your business, you will want to grow in your personal development. That might look like doing a group online course. It might be a personal business coach. I can remember the first time that I hired a business coach. Within a month, I had reached that next rank that I was working toward. So it was totally worth it. But as your business grows, you will put more into personal development, and you'll see the pieces that you need to bring in and out of your business. The second piece of investing in yourself is attending live events. This is so important because leaders are created at events. I have 2 events on my calendar that are absolute non-negotiables in my business. The first one is attending convention. Anyone can attend doTERRA convention, so it's really important to make sure you get there. The second one is leadership retreat. That is available to anyone who is silver and above. It's all about growing your business. It is important to put these on your calendar as non-negotiables in your business because you will see such growth after you attend them. I know that it will pay off for you. The third piece of this investing in yourself is self-care. You have to nurture yourself. Listen, if you're working 24 hours a day, who is going to want to join you in your business? I know that some of us feel like, hey, this is so much fun, like I could work all day long and it doesn't really feel like work. I mean, that's true to an extent, but what I love about doTERRA is that it is a vehicle that allows me to live my passion. And it's the same for you. And when you are living your passion, people want to join your team. They want to be part of what you're doing. So that investment in yourself is so important. That self-care, the nurturing, giving yourself the things that you need to be at your best. It will definitely pay off for you. The third piece of this equation of investing in your business is investing in your team. Above all, your team has to know that you care about them. You know, I mentioned that this is a personal development business. It's also a relationship business. It is all about that human connection, and your team has to feel that from you. It can be through a little note, a meme. A funny meme is always a good one to try, but just sending them a text or just letting them know that you're connecting. It doesn't always have to be about business. It's about really nurturing the relationship between you and your team members and giving them that education that they need as well. So you're going to have a lot of customers and you're going to have some business builders on your team. And you want to give them the education that they need. Give them oil education through Facebook forums, through newsletters and emails. You can give them that information and then really work with your business builders. Work with those who show up for you. So those who are running with their business, you lace up your tennis shoes and you run right alongside them. Do this together and show them that you're making that investment in them. You can also invest in your team by doing live classes with them or doing online classes with them as well. And do what you want them to do. If you want them to be good enrollers, you enroll yourself. If you want them to teach classes, you teach classes. Do the things that you're asking them to do, because the best investment in them is being an example for them. I want to share a little story with you that happened on my team just a few weeks ago. I have a platinum leader, and she is an amazing leader. She invests in her business, she invests in herself, and she invests in her team. And she was supposed to go out of state to teach some classes for one of her new team members. She called me, and she had had a family emergency. And she said, I don't know what to do. I guess I'm going to have to cancel these classes, and it's for this new builder. And so I said, you know what? I don't have anything I have to do this weekend. I will get on a plane and go and teach those classes for you. And the gratitude, number one, that poured out of her was amazing. But why was I willing to do that? Because she invests in her business. She invests in her team. And I want her to know that I invest in her. And doTERRA has financially allowed me to be able to get on a plane and go do that for someone. And that's how you'll see your business grow. But it was such an amazing event for me to be able to do that for her. It was this mutual gratitude that came back and forth from us, because I'm so grateful for her and the work that she does on our team, and she was so grateful that I've invested in her. And you will build those relationships with your team, and they're just strong bonds that you know that people are there for you and that you're there for them. So that's the equation for reinvesting in your business. Invest financially, invest in yourself, invest in your team. I believe it's an unbeatable equation, and you will have a successful business.
Hi, I'm Judy Rushing, and I am a wellness advocate. I live in Las Vegas, and before I was rescued by doTERRA, I was a CPA with a tax practice. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about my tips for record keeping and best practices for keeping you out of trouble with taxing authorities. So one of the reasons that I am so impassioned about this is, with my background, a lot of people start into a business like doTERRA not understanding that they can really get themselves into trouble with taxing authorities if they're not doing right or proper record keeping. And so getting that set out right from the beginning, it's never too late to get on the right track, but getting that started out right from the beginning is so important. So I had a friend who came to me. She hadn't done her taxes for 2 years, and she was in a bit of a mess. Didn't really think that she owed anything for taxes. She wasn't making a lot of money, and so she was overwhelmed with what she was supposed to do for record keeping. And so I sat down with her, and we put everything together and filed 2 years of taxes, and she did owe some tax money, so we ended up having to set up tax payments for her to make. And that's just not a good way to get started in your business in the whole. So it's better to be prepared and strategize and plan so that when tax season rolls around, you're prepared and you can maximize your allowable deductions against your income. So the first thing I want to share is that it's really important to have a separate business banking account for your doTERRA business. And it doesn't have to be set up in a business name. It can be in your own personal name if that's how you operate your doTERRA business, but a separate account that is separate from your own personal household expenses, and that's super important. So I recommend having a separate bank account for your business from your personal. There's something called commingling, and you don't want to do that. That invites taxing authorities to come in and start digging deep and seeing if you're trying to write off personal expenses that aren't truly deductible expenses, and that's never fun. So it's a good idea to have a separate bank account, a separate business credit card, a separate checkbook. And then I also recommend that in the early stages, if your business isn't making enough money to pay for the expenses that you're incurring, to loan money from yourself to your business account, and then pay your business expenses from that account rather than paying for business expenses all in your personal account. Oftentimes, people forget about some expenses that they've incurred, and at the end of the year, it's a missed opportunity for you to be able to deduct something that you would normally have been able to deduct. So not only is commingling a bad idea, but then that invites in these missed opportunities, is what I like to call them. I also encourage people to set up direct deposit. You end up paying more fees if you're having your checks mailed directly to you rather than being direct deposited. The next thing I recommend is setting up separate folders or files for each of your major expenses or vendors that you typically use, rather than filing them by month. A lot of people like to keep all of their expenses by month, but when it comes tax time, or even worse, if you're under audit, trying to find expenses by month is a nightmare. Really, you want to expense them by category as they go on your tax return, or by vendor. Have different folders for each of the major ones that you use, and then have a miscellaneous A through M and a miscellaneous N through Z for any of the other vendors that you may just use occasionally. You don't want to have 50 different folders. You just want to have folders for the major ones and then use that miscellaneous to capture everything else. So the other thing I recommend is setting up a folder for cash receipts. Sometimes we pay for something with cash, and so make sure you get a receipt. I put it in the folder for cash receipts, and then once a month go and write a check to reimburse myself out of the business account for those expenses that I paid cash for, so that I've captured that expense as a business expense and it doesn't get forgotten later in the year. Another thing I recommend when you are self-employed, you have your own business, one of the things that taxing authorities will look at if you get audited sometimes will be your own personal accounts, and they will start looking at deposits that go into your personal accounts, trying to make sure that you're not shifting income and not reporting income that should be reported. So it's a good practice anytime that you're going to be depositing something into your personal account that is not business related. One, you've already set up that business account, so anything business related should be being deposited into that account. But then make a copy of the check or whatever it is that you're depositing into your personal account, and just make a record of what it was. Maybe it was a reimbursement or a refund or a rebate or some type of money that you're depositing in there that's not really income. It's just a good practice to get into, just to kind of make yourself audit proof, so that you don't end up having a taxing authority scoop over and bring that over into taxable income. That's never a good plan. So one of the other things that I recommend is getting yourself in the habit. You know, when we first started using the oils, we would ask ourselves, is there an oil for that? So one of the things that I like to recommend is asking yourself, is there a way to make this expense deductible? And think about it. If there's a legitimate way to make it deductible, then pay for it with your business. If you're going out to lunch with somebody and you're talking about doTERRA, or you're talking about business, or you're going out with someone that's on your team and you're talking strategy, that can be a deductible business expense. If you're traveling to a team to teach a class, or to go to a training, or to come to convention, those types of expenses are business expenses. So when I'm here at convention, anytime I'm doing anything, whether I'm eating out or I'm taking a cab, anything that I'm doing, I separate all of that and make sure that I look at it and say, okay, is this a legitimate business expense? And if it is, then I capture that and make sure I pay for it with a business credit card or with my business check, so that I, at the end of the year, once again, am deducting everything that I can legally deduct. So some of the more common expenses that you might incur in your business would be things like product samples expense, marketing supplies, mileage. With your business, you want to make sure that you track your business miles. There are a couple of apps that you can use. I actually like one called QuickBooks Self-Employed. It tracks both mileage and expenses. You can take pictures of receipts and you can track your miles. But once again, looking at everything, saying, is this a business expense? So if you're running to the grocery store to get some food that you're going to be preparing for a class, separate out the food that you're using to prepare for your class and separate that from your regular grocery bill, and that can be a business expense for your business. The miles that you drove to the grocery store, the miles that you drove to the bank to make your deposit, all of those are deductible business expenses, but you have to track them in order to be able to deduct them. So it's just really important that you keep track of your miles, write down your beginning odometer reading and your ending odometer reading. If you're really good, you do it daily. If you're not really good, you have a calendar that you can go back once a week or once a month and actually log in what your actual miles are. But you do definitely want to have a mechanism to track your miles. So other expenses would be things like internet connection, your phone bill, supplies, marketing expenses, professional fees for like attorneys, your IT guy, your CPA, conferences, meals and entertainment. So with meals and entertainment, once again, another set of rules that come around that, documenting that. Meals and entertainment, it's really important that you document the business purpose of that, because some taxing authorities think that since we get pleasure out of doing those things, maybe they're not all deductible. So it's important to make sure that you document what the deductible things are. So what I've done is I've gotten in the habit of every time I sit down to sign a check at a meal, I automatically at the top of my receipt write who I ate with and what the business purpose was, whether it was strategy session or it was a training or whatever type of business activity you're doing. I just jot that down. And most of those receipts are on thermal paper. So if you're not using some type of an app where you're actually taking a picture of the receipt, a couple of years down the road, that thermal ink will usually be gone. And so if by chance you're under audit by a taxing authority, there may be nothing on there other than the ink that you wrote at the top of the receipt when you wrote it. So it's always a good idea to do that right in the moment. And I actually will write the grand total too, including the tip. So I've got the name, the business purpose, and the total, so that it will then, if I have to add up all of my receipts, I've now got documentation that can back up or support the numbers that were in my tax return. So that's a really good habit to get into, so that you once again are trying to make yourself audit proof. So the next thing that I want to share is that it's really a good habit to get into to set aside a portion of the money that you get paid every month for taxes in anticipation of owing taxes. In the early stages of doTERRA, it may not be as critical, but if you just get yourself in that habit, what you can do is, if come tax time you don't have a big tax bill, but you've set aside that money, you've gotten that disciplined habit of setting aside that money, then you've just got a savings account that you can then put into retirement or take a great vacation or whatever. But you've created that habit of setting aside that money, so that as your money starts growing, you're already in that good habit. And then when tax time rolls around, you've gotten in that habit of making the estimated tax payments that you're supposed to make, so that you stay out of tax trouble. So I would recommend that you sit down with your tax advisor and formulate what a good percentage would be. For me, I typically do about 20% of my check. I just set it aside in a separate savings account that I have that I earmark as my tax savings account. And then each quarter I make my estimated tax payments out of that. The other thing that I recommend as part of this record-keeping process, oftentimes, especially in the beginning, we want to maybe prepare our own taxes, we want to save money and not hire a professional. I will tell you, hiring someone that understands network marketing and the nuances of taxation around network marketing will be some of the best money that you spend. Finding yourself a good CPA that can prepare your taxes and can help you with strategy and tax planning will, in the long run, save you a lot of money and will typically save you more than it's going to cost you for that professional. So I would really, really recommend that you hire a professional to do that. And that allows you to do the things that you're good at, talking with people and sharing oils and doing what you do best, and allowing somebody else who has the training and the education and the knowledge to prepare taxes to do that. I mentioned earlier an app called QuickBooks Self-Employed. That app I really like. There's another one called Mile IQ. There is Expenseit, but really the QuickBooks Self-Employed is the one that I like the best. There's a lot of different apps out there. If you're just good with a straight up Excel spreadsheet, that's a really good way too. It's just about getting yourself into a disciplined habit of recording those expenses and not waiting until the end of the year to try to gather everything, and then you have to try to remember, what that expense was that you spent 7 months ago and who is this vendor? Like, those are all missed opportunities. And so you really want to just get yourself in the habit of either weekly or monthly or daily doing that record keeping activity, so that at the end of the year you've got everything together that you need for your taxes. And it will cost you far less for your tax return to do it if you come to your tax preparer with records as opposed to the proverbial shoebox. Nobody wants the shoebox handed to them, and it will cost you a lot more to get your taxes done if you come unprepared. So save yourself time and money. And it's also a good way to be able to track your own business activities and see your expenses. You can do it, like I said, in an Excel spreadsheet, just down one column, putting the name of the vendor that you used, a date, the dollar amount, and then across the top of the columns, the different types of categories that we just talked about, the expense categories we just talked about, and then dropping that same dollar amount into those expense categories, and then having just an Excel spreadsheet sum total at the bottom. So you've got a total for each of the different categories of expenses at the bottom of that spreadsheet. Totally acceptable. So just pick something that will work for you, because the most important thing is that you actually do it and keep that record keeping going, so that at the end of the year you're prepared and you can take advantage of all of the opportunities and deductions allowed, and keep as much money in your pocket that you're legally allowed to keep in your pocket. It's not a bad thing to pay taxes. If you're paying taxes, it means you're making money. That's not a bad thing. So be grateful that you have the opportunity to have the income to pay the taxes. And let's just make it so that you've got good record keeping, so that you can keep as much of your money legally as you can, and be grateful for the taxes that you are paying and for the gift that doTERRA gives us. So for some action items that you could take, I would say if you don't already have direct deposit set up with doTERRA, go into your back office, print out the direct deposit form, and get that sent in. I would also get the files set up for keeping track of your expenses, and then decide whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or an app or a bookkeeper. Maybe you're going to hire a bookkeeper to come in and do your record keeping, but just decide what's going to work for you and put it into action, so that when the tax time rolls around, you don't have to sweat it out. You've already done all the things you needed to do, and it's an easy handing over of the paperwork to your CPA, and you can keep on doing what you do best, and that is helping people one drop at a time.
Hi, my name is Burke Rigby, and I have been asked to share with you my experience of choosing doTERRA as a career. So when I was asked to do this, the first thing I thought was, well, what really defines a career? And the traditional definition of that is it's something that you choose to do for a long period of time, and it offers the opportunity for progress. So the question is, what is it you're trying to progress at? Is it praise? Is it power? Is it financial? Or are you really trying to progress in your life at living and experiencing and doing the things that you really want to do? The next question is, how many of you have actually taken the time to write out what you want your life to look like? I think most of us spend more time deciding what we're going to have for lunch every day than we do in laying out what we want our lives to look like. So an activity I do with a lot of new people who come to us is to ask them, what would the perfect job look like? And inevitably they list things like independence and freedom and social responsibility. And I want to be part of a great culture and have an amazing community around me. And my next question for them is, how well does the job you're doing match up with those things? And usually it doesn't match up at all. most people end up in a career that they didn't choose, that they came to really out of necessity, and it isn't really giving them a life of fulfillment. And we know really the ultimate failure in life is to have success without fulfillment. And by success, I mean you can have power and you can have prestige and you can have finances, but if you're not getting any fulfillment out of that, you're really failing at what you're doing for your career. So I want to share with you a little bit of my story and how I came to doTERRA as a career. Now, if someone had showed me a video like this 10 years ago, I would have laughed them off, I would have dismissed it, and that would have been mostly out of ignorance because I didn't really understand anything about the network marketing industry, other than those myths that I had heard floating around. And let's be honest, some of those myths and things that people say about network marketing, there's some truth there, and we have to own that. But the reality is, network marketing has come a long way in the last 10 years. Network marketing as an industry has grown over 90% in the last 10 years. There's over 20 million people in the United States and 90 million worldwide who participate in some level in network marketing. There's over 183 billion worth of goods and services moved throughout the network marketing industry. So the reality is the integrity isn't found or based on an industry. It's really based on the people in that industry. And there are amazing doctors, lawyers, firemen, teachers in all of those industries. But I can get on the news any night and see stories of people who aren't representing those industries well. So we have to separate the people sometimes from the industry, and that's what I had to do. I had to really get to know network marketing and what the pluses and minuses were. And the more I've learned over the last 9 years as I've been involved with doTERRA, the bigger a blessing it's been in my life. So I was forced out of what I was doing really through some circumstances that I didn't have control over. I spent much of my life in the heavy construction industry, and in 2007, 2008, when the economy started to crumble here in the United States, Natalie, my wife, and I were forced to look outside the box and to start finding ways to create new revenue streams. And we were very blessed at that time to have some friends share with us the doTERRA opportunity. And as we embraced that opportunity and learned more about the amazing products and the amazing culture and community that come with doTERRA, the more we were drawn in and the greater experiences we started to have. And the reality is that's what doTERRA offers. If you have a need for better health or wellness, doTERRA has an answer for that. If you have a need for better finances and financial health, doTERRA has an answer for that. And if you need a community of like-minded people who are uplifting and inspiring and motivated, doTERRA has that community. Another thing that they've added to that over the years is the social responsibility. With our co-impact sourcing and our Healing Hands Foundation, we're giving so much back in this world that it's a wonderful thing to be a part of. I know that throughout my life I've wanted to make a bigger impact. But when you look at what it takes to put together a nonprofit and to go out into the world and do those things, it can feel overwhelming. doTERRA has all that, and we get to be a part of that. And we've been able to go to places like Jamaica and Nepal and Kenya and experience the good that doTERRA is doing in those areas firsthand, to actually be a part of those. So that's another piece of this doTERRA puzzle that has just made it such a wonderful career path for us. So let me share some of the practical things about doing doTERRA as a career. I think sometimes people look at what we do and they think that it's so much different than what the typical business person does in a day. But really, when you look at the similarities between what we do and any other business out there, they're pretty striking. If you want to start a business downtown, you've got to have a great product. The first thing you do when you knew what product you were going to represent is go tell your friends and your family and everyone you knew, and let them know you're in business. Let them know that you'd love to have them come support you and try these great products that you've got. You'd have to do some marketing. You'd have to understand the rules of engagement in that industry and the rules of doing business. You know, how big can my sign be out front? How do I get set up with the right banking system? How fast do the credit cards process? All those things. Similarly, with our doTERRA business, we have a great product. We share it with people we love. We have to understand the compensation plan and how we can benefit from that. And so those are some of the similarities. Now, someone who's really savvy in business will also realize there's some really big differences that make it even better. I don't have to buy any expensive equipment. I don't have to buy any brick and mortar space. I don't have to hire employees. I don't have to have inventory. I don't have to provide a customer service department or a shipping department. All of those things are provided by doTERRA. So while I'm in business for myself, I'm not in business by myself. And that's very powerful, to have the support of a multi-billion-dollar company behind me and what I'm doing is amazing. I don't have to spend time with workers' compensation or insurance claims or W-2s or any of those things that go along with running a business and that I've had to deal with in my past life. So what I've found in this career is that it allows me to spend all of my time doing income-producing activities instead of administrative duties. And because of that, it makes it an opportunity with unlimited potential. Couple that with the ability to bless other people's lives, because I can't succeed at this without helping other people succeed. And it makes it a very fulfilling opportunity that brings me independence, brings me to a company with social responsibility, brings me to a community of people that are uplifting and amazing. And it gives me the finances to bless others. Natalie and I are pretty passionate about that aspect of it. We know that we can't feed the hungry from empty shelves, and so doTERRA has provided us the opportunity to give back in ways we never imagined before. If you're sitting on the fence about doing this yourself or maybe with your spouse, I just encourage you to really understand what it is you're looking at and to reach out to those around you, get a good sense of what is happening here at doTERRA. We're just getting started. There's so much more to come, and it's a great opportunity, great company to be a part of. So, thank you.